episode of Surviving the Survivor, we bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
And it's happened again. What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the podcast that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime on trending criminal cases. And sometimes, because of our news backgrounds here at STS, we delve into breaking news. And this one, particularly close to home, this is our on the campus of our original true crime story involving FSU law professor Dan Markel. I know he would have been very upset to see this news. A shooting today on the campus of Florida State University. There's about to be a live news conference about what went on. There have been all sorts of conflicting statements, and we will get to all that. I'm going to bring in our best guests. First up, a man who can really help us break this down, Rob D'Amico. Former military and retired FBI, part of the hostage rescue team. And from what I understand, they actually have some presence on the campus as we speak. Jared Ross went to FSU undergrad and law school. He lives in Tallahassee and was at a nearby deli when all this went down. And Bart Womack, second time on the show here. He's retired Command Sergeant Major, serving in the United States Army with distinction for over 29 years, 2 Bronze Stars, 1 for valor. And he talks about domestic terrorism, and that's what he deals in. So a perfect guest for this. I'm going to bring up, this is WCTV, and then I'll probably mute it. Yeah, it's muted already. This is live coverage in Tallahassee, courtesy of WCTV television. Jared, I got to start with you. You're there. And by the way, I've invited Tim Jansen and Monica to join. I just haven't been able to get a hold of them. But Jared, how do you get word? You're at the Metro Deli, and for those who don't know, it's right near the campus, and it is kind of a hot spot for lunch. But tell us how you got word of the shooting and at what time.
Yeah, I had been at the Capitol all morning for legislative committee meetings and got back to my office, and my coworker said, "Hey, you want to go to Metro and just grab a sandwich and come back to the office?" And I said, "Sure." And so we walked over there, and about 12:03, I got a text from a friend of mine who said active shooting on campus, and he works on campus. So, obviously we all start kind of fumbling, looking at our phones, and then you just heard sirens after siren. And then when you looked over Monroe Street, which is the main thoroughfare where the Capitol is, there were just unmarked police cars with sirens and just, flying down Monroe Street toward campus. And at that point, you knew that there was something a lot more serious and, some false alarm or something like that. And then by the time we had gotten our sandwiches and walked out of the office, we saw helicopters overhead, more sirens, and then we got word that they were telling everybody to stay away from campus. If you were downtown, they wanted you staying in your office buildings or anything like that. Just really a surreal experience. And, they're talking about the new student union, which is about a mile from where my office is. So, it's not far at all.
Yeah, you can see students here try to barricade, it appears, themselves in there. Jared, for those who do not know, this happened apparently right near the student union, if not inside the student union. That's obviously centrally located on campus, and that's also a very busy area, isn't it?
Yeah, the student union recently was completely renovated, and they have turned it into it was a place we all kind of went when I was in school, gosh, now almost 30 years ago. But now it's really a hot spot on campus. They have a bowling alley, which they had when I was in school, but it's a completely renovated bowling alley there. They have a craft brewery right there in the student union that a lot of people hang out with. And then there's a food court, and then there are all sorts of rooms and offices. A lot of the student government offices are located there. So it's a very busy area of campus.
Yeah, while students are running away and faculty are running out, people like Rob D'Amico and Bart are running in. Rob D'Amico, just to recap, it's been very confusing. And again, we're waiting on a press conference that's going to start in just a couple of minutes. It's actually about a minute away, but I can guarantee it'll go a little late. They say that obviously it was an active shooter. Officials saying that this shooter was neutralized, which I took to mean dead, Rob. But I'm hearing that there's a suspect in custody, and that is not confirmed necessarily to be the shooter. At least 6 people are injured. We're hearing no deaths, heard 1 death, heard 2 deaths. I haven't heard it go above 2, but obviously these are fluid situations always, and the numbers always change. But Rob D'Amico, from your standpoint, retired FBI, what is law enforcement doing now? What were they doing a short time ago?
Well, the big thing when it first happened, and the term neutralize, different law enforcement agencies talk about different things. So at HRT, when we spoke about someone on an objective, if they were down hard, that meant they were dead. If they're down, that means they're down and they're alive. So each law enforcement agency's got to come up with the terms. I did hear that he was actually the subject was in an ambulance, handcuffed in an ambulance with the U.S. Marshal, something along those lines. Again, fluid, don't know, haven't verified that, but from everything I'm hearing, the subject is alive. And at that point, they're still trying to figure out.
Rob, I'm just going to hold you there. We're going to take this live right now.
Oh, yeah.
Press conference about the FSU shooting.
The gentleman over his shoulder is the FSU president, just so you know.
All right. And does that look like FSU police or Tallahassee police to you, Jared?
That's Tallahassee police.
Okay.
All right, we are waiting right now for
the
press conference to start here. It is set to start at 4:30 to give us some updates on the FSU shooting that happened this afternoon. A huge, massive law enforcement presence there all day. And, people have just been wondering how it all happened and looking for answers. So
it looks like Leon County Sheriff McNeil is there, among other law enforcement leaders. Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revel, Tallahassee Mayor John.
My name is Jason Trumbauer, and I'm the Chief of Police at Florida State University. All Florida State University classes and business operations on the main campus in Tallahassee are canceled through Friday, April 18th. Essential employees should check with their supervisors for further reporting instructions. All FSU athletic events in Tallahassee are canceled through Sunday. At approximately 11:50 a.m. Thursday, April 17th, a gunman opened fire on the main campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee, shooting multiple individuals in the vicinity of the Student Union building. FSU police responded immediately, engaged, neutralized, and apprehended the shooter. 2 victims are deceased, and 5 individuals have been transported to a local hospital with gunshot wounds. The shooter has also been transported to a local hospital. The 2 deceased are not students. The shooter is believed to be a current FSU student. I do not have additional information on the shooter's identity at this time. Students who need assistance can go to the Donald L. Tucker Center, where the university is providing counseling, healthcare, and other support services. Family members are also able to go to the Tucker Center for assistance. Students, faculty, and staff are asked to call their loved ones as soon as possible to update them on their status. The student union and the surrounding area is still considered an active crime scene. Individuals should avoid the area. Students should not return to the student union to retrieve personal property at this time. Students may return to their residence halls, but they should otherwise stay indoors on main campus to allow first responders and university staff to do their jobs and respond to those needing assistance. Students may depart campus for the weekend. All classes have been canceled through Friday. Before I turn this over to Chief Revel, I want to thank all the brave men and women of the FSU PD for responding immediately to the scene. I also want to thank the responding agencies who have provided assistance to FSU today big time, including the Tallahassee Police Department, the Leon County Sheriff's Office, the Florida Highway Patrol, Leon County Emergency Medical Services, FDLE, and all other responding agencies today. We really appreciate your support. That's all the information I have at this time. We'll have additional update for you later today. Chief Revel.
Good afternoon. I am Chief Revel with the Tallahassee Police Department. As the shooting occurred today, our officers, as well as every single other officer in this city and county, responded immediately to this scene. Once on scene and once we began working through what was occurring and what we were working in consultation with FSU, Tallahassee Police Department was asked to take lead on this. So we will be the lead for this investigation in both the officer involved shooting portion of this as well as the homicide portion of this. I will come up after the last speaker and entertain just a few questions, but needless to say, we have multiple crime scenes. This is a very large area we're covering. We have thousands, hundreds or thousands of witnesses. And again, this is an active, ongoing investigation. So the information that we will be allowed to release right now may be fairly limited. I'll answer what I can at that time. But I will assure you that as soon as we can, any information that becomes available, we will make that available to you. One of the things in the process, and again, understand that this is an ongoing active investigation. So things are happening as we are standing here and as we are speaking. We have identified the shooter, obviously. He's at the hospital. So with more on that, I'm going to allow the sheriff to come up and speak on that portion of it.
Thank you, Chief. As Chief Revel indicated, I'm Walt McNeil, Leon County Sheriff. First and foremost, let me express our gratitude to the responding law enforcement agencies in this community. Our citizens should feel some degree of comfort knowing that your law enforcement agencies are going to respond and do exactly what we did in this case, that is bring the offender to justice and to make sure that we do what we can to make sure we lock him or her up. Let me say to you, this is obviously a heinous crime. Our deepest condolences go out to the FSU family, the families of the students who are here. And we understand that you all have been devastated because of this person's actions. The question as it relates to who is the shooter is 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner. And he's the son of a Leon County Sheriff deputy. Our deputy Eichner, has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. And we are continuing that investigation into how that weapon was used and what other weapons perhaps he may have had access to. The alleged shooter was also a long-standing member of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Citizen Advisory or Youth Advisory Council. So he has been steeped in the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, engaged in a number of training programs that we have. So it's not a surprise to us that he had access to weapons. This event is tragic in more ways than you people in the audience could ever fathom. from a law enforcement perspective. But I will tell you this, we will make sure that we do everything we can to prosecute and make sure that we send a message to folks that this will never be tolerated here in Leon County, and I dare say across this state and across this nation. Thank you. Let me bring up the FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge, Hubert Reynolds.
Good afternoon. My name is Hubert Reynolds, and I'm the acting special agent in charge of the Jacksonville field office. I want to echo those standing with me what a horrific crime this is, and we stand with you fully. We have an office here in Tallahassee, and we are fully engaged with providing any resources that we can bring to bear to help with this investigation moving forward. We've established a digital tips media line where you can upload photos, videos prior to and during the incident. If you were there from social media, please upload all of that. I will give you now the website address. You can upload any tips to www.fbi.gov/FSU shooting. Again, that's www.fbi.gov/FSU shooting. I want to assure you that we are going to bring every available resource to be able to help the community and the local people here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Richard McCullough, Rick McCullough, the president of Florida State University. This is a tragic day for Florida State University. We're absolutely heartbroken by the violence that occurred on our campus earlier today. 2 have died. 5 other innocents are being treated for their injuries. We're working to support the victims, their families, and everyone affected by this traumatic event. I just returned from the hospital. The First Lady and I met some of our students who are the victims. Our hearts go out to our students and the victims of this terrible tragedy. I have to say that our law enforcement, our FSU police officers are absolute heroes in this regard. The call went out, someone called it in, and immediately they responded to the scene and immediately neutralized the suspect and prevented this from being a bigger tragedy. I want to thank them so much for what they do to try to keep our students safe. I want to thank all the law enforcement partners, FSU Police, Tallahassee Police, Leon County Sheriff's Department, Florida Highway Patrol, and the Florida Department Law Enforcement, and all other responding agencies for their rapid and courageous response. I want to thank everybody that came out to visit with the students and to help us and to be here today for this press conference. And I appreciate so much the support that you're all providing to our university and to our students. We're fully cooperating with the investigation, and we defer to law enforcement as they continue their work. I'd also like to thank all the healthcare providers at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital that are treating and providing outstanding care to our victims. Right now, our top priority is safety and well-being for all the people and our campus. As it was said, classes are canceled on the main campus today and tomorrow, and all FSU athletics events on Tallahassee are canceled through Sunday. We also want to tell you that counseling and psychological services are available to students, faculty, and staff, and anyone that needs that should call 850-644-2003. We're also providing support for faculty and staff through our employee assistance program. And so if you need any help, please reach out. We'll continue to communicate with the campus community as we know more. This is a deeply emotional time, but we're all here to support each other. We're going to do everything we can to support our community. We're a strong and united community, and we're family. And so we'll take care of all of you. And we'll get through this together. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will take a few questions. Let me just reiterate, this was a massive response, a massive response of law enforcement personnel. Our federal, state, local partners have continued to build relationships that long preceded this event. And that came into great play today in the seamless way that we all came together to work these events. But I know you'll have some specific questions. I will tell you right now, we are not going to talk about the victims other than the fact that there are 6 of them, two additional deceased, and then the suspect. So 9 total persons. 9 total persons. Yes, sir.
Have you all been able to talk to the suspect at all? Any idea about motive?
The suspect invoked his rights not to speak to us.
Chief, do we know if the weapon that was used was his parents' service weapon? And if so, what are the rules around storing service weapons?
Right. No, that's a good question. This weapon was a weapon that the deputy previously used. A lot of times, many agencies, mine included, when we transition to a new handgun, the officers are allowed to purchase the handgun they used prior. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but I believe that's the case here. This was a handgun that deputy used prior to them transitioning to a new handgun. And so it was her personal handgun.
She on put on leave or?
The sheriff would have to speak to that. So.
We will do a thorough investigation to look at all aspects of it. There's no cause right now that we're aware of that require her to be placed on any kind of suspension or otherwise.
Yes, ma'am.
We've been hearing stuff that it was a deputy who was a school resource officer. Is that true?
That is correct. Yes.
Chief, who was injured, who was killed, or any of those members of law enforcement?
I'm sorry?
Anyone who died in the shooting was injured in the shooting, were any of them members of law enforcement, whether it be the...
No, they were not. They were not. Yes, sir.
When law enforcement arrived, did the suspects engage with them or did you surrender immediately?
No, they challenged him and ended up shooting. He did not comply with commands and was shot.
Did he fire also?
I do not believe he fired at officers.
We've heard that Phoenix may be autistic. Are you able to confirm that detail?
I do not have that detail.
Is there an idea of the victims yet?
I'm sorry?
Idea of the victims.
We're not releasing any of the victim information at this time.
Was the officer aware of any behavioral conditions or concerns or threats prior to this incident?
We were not.
How quickly did officers arrive on scene with the 911 call to when they engaged the suspect?
We will get you that information. I don't have that currently. I assume that would be a question that was asked, but I mean, it was almost immediately. That FSU, obviously this is their campus and they patrol it very well. So they were on scene almost immediately, engaged almost immediately. And then everyone else, again, was a massive, very quick response.
I know you said that the 2 deceased were not students. We know those 5 that were injured or any of them students?
Again, we're not releasing any information on the students on the victims at this point. I'm sorry? It was a handgun. I don't know what type of handgun that was. It was probably a 40. No, I don't know. Yeah.
Chief, I heard a report that a shotgun was also recovered on campus. Was that used in the shooting?
We do know that he had a shotgun with him. We have not confirmed anyone was shot with a shotgun at this point. But again, that could change as we, again, there are hundreds and hundreds of witnesses. And as we piece all of this back together, information will come to light that we may not have at this point. So I do not believe so at this point.
We'll take one more question. Will body cam radio dispatch or any logs be released in the near future?
I'm sorry, say again.
Will there be any body cam footage or radio dispatch logs or incident reports being released?
We will work with the state attorney's office, which we always do, in pulling together all the information, all the investigative evidence from this case, and in collaboration with State Attorney Campbell, we will make that determination. Obviously, after the case is over, we will certainly, it all becomes available at that point. But as to what we can and will release at that point, like I said before, we we're very open, transparent on these things. Again, the officers did an incredible job. But again, some of this is very horrific. This is a horrific incident. And so we will, again, collaborate with the state attorney's office and determine which of that evidence could be released or will not be released. But again, I will let you know that as soon as we make that determination. So thank you all very much. Appreciate you being here. And just let me reiterate what's already been said. The collaboration between all of the agencies, the federal, the state, the local, all of our first responders, our EMS personnel, our fire department, again, just a massive response, immediate treatment to the victims that were there, the transport of them, again, it was a very seamless response to this tragedy. And that goes to the training that we all do repeatedly, individually as agencies and together. The incident command came together very, very quickly. And again, I could not be more proud of the response and more horrified at the act. So thank you very much.
Can you please just real quick verify it one more time that there are people that are it was 8 this time?
Sure. Total number of 9. That includes the suspect. So there are 6 victims that are injured, 2 victims that are dead, and 1 suspect. And that's let me just reiterate this because I'm not sure we said this. We have no reason to believe at this point that he did not act alone. So there is no further threat to our community at this point. So thank you very much.
All right.
All right, let's leave this up, Space Coast. But you just heard a very sad day for the Seminoles, Florida State University. 2 dead, 6 injured. The shooter also shot and injured by police. Police said he did not respond to commands. And then kind of in a stunning turn, we are hearing that the shooter, who is identified as 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, it's Ikner, that his mother is a Leon County sheriff's deputy and has been for many years with a very storied career per the sheriff of Leon County, which is in Tallahassee. So, Rob D'Amico, I'm just going to go back to you. What stands out to you? I mean, here you've got, by the way, the 2 dead are said not to be students, but obviously worked or did something around the FSU campus because they were there and obviously got caught in a crossfire. But then also, this shooter is a student, and Rob got a hold apparently of his mother, who's a deputy, sheriff's deputy, of her weapon. What stands out to you?
I mean, again, police officers and where you store your weapons. Mine's locked up. There at times though, when I was earlier, my kids were little. I just put my weapon where they couldn't get it. And then if they had friends over, I actually locked it up in my vehicle, my trunk of my FBI car that was out in the driveway. Now I had at HRT, I had 18 weapons assigned to me. Most of those were kept in my gear locker. You know, they were all specialized weapons and stuff. And I'd, have one that I carried home. But it was either on me or, secured type of thing. I'm going to have to check the Florida law, because most of the time that if you leave a weapon open and then it's used, there can be some charges pressed against it. The other thing though, he was part of, what do they call it? The
Youth Advisory Council.
Yeah, Youth Advisory Council too. So he was actually actively engaged with the police department on stuff, which is somewhat normal maybe for a deputy sheriff's kid. So he was more in that, and for him to turn and do this, they're going to have to look at a lot of different things that are going to happen. But I would imagine, again, the sheriff saying, well, we don't think she did anything that would get her suspended. I would just gone with, hey, look, we're going to do a thorough investigation and not automatically go to like, yeah, she's good. That always kind of pisses me off on stuff. because people are going to be like, what happened? And, you know, the interesting thing, it was a former service weapon. So quick story at HRT, again, I had so many weapons assigned to me, but one of them, when we got our new 45s, they were Springfield professionals, and they're the first ones to come out. And everyone on HRT, I got one with my the serial number was my HRT number, HRT 038. And when I was retiring after having this gun for like, 15 years, I had to turn it in. They would not let me buy it, and they melted it down because we weren't even using 45 anymore. I just wanted it. I would have made it unfunctional, but it was just an amazing gun with my number as a serial number. FBI does not allow service weapons to even be purchased by FBI agents because of things like this. And then some get into pawn shops and then get used in crime. So it's definitely one of those things that happens. But it is very sad.
Yeah, we are again looking at live coverage from WCTV. You see a shoe there off of someone's foot, the police tape. Bart, you haven't gotten in yet, so I'd like you to get some comments. Again, the shooter now ID'd as a person named Phoenix Eichner, Ikner. We have a photo of him. The COE is going to get that up. And there's also, he went, not too surprisingly, I would say, on a rant on FSUnews.com not long ago in the last couple of weeks. He said he was protesting. I'm just going to read this from FSUnews.com. Once the protesters reached the integration statue, Florida State University Police Department officers stood on guard and groups of onlookers began to form. And then they've got a quote from Phoenix Eichner. He says, "These people are usually pretty entertaining, usually not for good reasons." Phoenix Eichner, a political science major, said, "I think it is a little too late. He," meaning Donald Trump, "is already going to be inaugurated on January 20th, and there's not really much you can do unless you outright revolt. And I don't think anyone wants that." Bart, he is using the president, saying, talking about a potential revolt. Nobody wants it, but I don't know if he had a beef against Donald Trump or was in favor of Donald Trump. It's almost hard to say from that statement, but something definitely went wrong with this kid. He's not a kid. He's 20 years old, using his mother, who's a sheriff's deputy, using her weapon to carry out this mass shooting. In your opinion, why are we hearing about these all the time? I mean, your specialty is kind of domestic terrorism. Is this a form of domestic terrorism? What can be done, if anything?
Well, it definitely is. I would start by saying that no profession, level of education, ideology, or religion is above reproach. There is no profile. The insider threat is closer than we think. And for his mother, as well as him being involved in that group that he was with, the youth active advocacy, you get caught in this thing called it's an illusion. You're so close to it that you don't think it's going to happen. The schools kind of fall under it as well, and parents kind of fall under it because they're so close. They never believe. No one's never going to believe that your son or your daughter is going to be capable of something like this. So no one's looking for it. And as you said, by the statements of him in this particular rally, we don't know what he said after that and the things that he did leading up to that. But if he said those statements then, he didn't just stop then. You become radicalized by something, then you become an extremist about something, and then you take action. Now, we weren't there, but I guarantee you, after saying those statements, it didn't just stop then. But if you follow probably his social media or people that were close to him, he said other things in regards to, not like in the president or the administration or whatever. We're going to hear more about this in the days to come. But that begins to form an opinion. And we don't know the people that were injured and how close they were to being for his statement or against his statement. Or the university itself being for the administration or not.
Yeah. It's we stay apolitical on this show, but when something like this happens and there's information out there, it is part of the story. Again, it is unclear. Vesper telling us his Instagram has already been removed. I was able to get a shot off of it before that happened, I believe.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yeah,
Joel?
Jared, please. Yeah,
I
100%.
have to head out here in a second. Gotta go get back to a little bit of normalcy and coach some Little League tonight. But I did look up his voter registration, and he was a registered Republican. Again, this is not, about politics in particular, but I saw that article while they mentioned his name. I did a quick Google search and I saw the article, and I went through, and I believe he was opposed to the protesters. The group that was protesting was SDS, Students for a Democratic Society, which is very much aligned with left-wing politics. And looking at him being a registered Republican, I read out of that he was saying that the protesters are entertaining for not such good reasons. And so being that he was 20 years old and a registered Republican, and again, total guess here, but he grew up in the time where Donald Trump had already become the Republican Party per se, and as someone who registered to vote just 2 years ago, likely registered to vote as a Republican based on those ideals. So that would just be my guess. Putting my political science hat on, since that's what I do for a living, that's kind of what I would have gotten out of that.
All salient points and smart as expected. COE, this is not about politics. It's about a shooting. This is what I was just saying.
Yeah, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with his politics in any way. I'm just saying, based on the article that was read, that's what I would have read out of it. So, but with that, I'm going to let the experts talk about this stuff. And
Jared, send
go
our
hope my kid can hit one out.
Yeah, please send our condolences to the people of Tallahassee and let them know that we are thinking about them. It is the top of 5 o'clock. Jared, thanks again.
Take
I'm
care,
gonna bring
guys.
this back. Yeah, let's watch this for a second. This is the top of the 5 o'clock news here. Let me unmute Space or COE. Can you unmute there? Space or COE, is it possible to unmute that?
Hey, we can't unmute it. Move on and I'll bring it up. Thanks.
Getting tense in here, Rob D'Amico. Getting tense, but this top of the 5 o'clock newscast might be a YouTube issue. So Rob D'Amico, unfortunately, we hear about these all the time. It seems like it's been a while because they're happening like every day. But we always hear, well, the FBI responds, law enforcement responds. What really goes on? What is happening right now on the campus of FSU? You heard one of the police chiefs say that they have potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of witnesses. And there's, if you go on X or Twitter, the cesspool that it is, you will see a lot of different people with a lot of different angles on this. So what is being done right now, Rob?
So, I mean, the big thing is that they do tabletop exercises and actual physical drills of these, especially around campuses. So when it happened, every responding law enforcement agency is coming in trying to get figure out where things are happening. But they've also probably planned staging areas, because if everyone just rushes to the actual scene, it can get like overwhelming to a point. So the first ones will do that, and as soon as that that the subject is neutralized, if that goes out, the incident command post that goes up, it came from the fire service term, but it's a command post where all the leaders go to really organize what's happening at that point. And again, there's staging areas. They probably have rehearsed those, whereas your responding officer after the fact, you go to a staging area, and then all the different agencies have a representative in the command post, and they start kind of doling things out to a point. FBI usually isn't able to respond to a quick incident. That's not what they're really set up for. But we have lots of resources with the evidence response teams and everything else. And the acting SAC mentioned that, like, we're there to provide assistance. So all the other different law enforcement agencies are going to then be tasked with certain things. Some of it may be, hey, look,
Rob, hang on one sec. There's a witness, eyewitness here. I just want to see what.
It was terrible. Yes.
You were kind of spread out, getting different lunch.
My daughter was waiting at the table. We were looking at the menu, and I couldn't believe it. Like, shots started. It was surreal, and people just started running. She got trampled over. We went through an exit door, ran down a hall, and all the doors were locked except one going up a flight of stairs to exit. And we didn't think that would be a good idea, but there was about 70 of us or 50 of us in that, and we were just like trapped, like
so when
felt
did you
trapped.
get out of the union?
We went in the service elevator. There's about 50 of us in the elevator, and we went upstairs. And that was probably the scariest point, because we didn't know, it could get worse, right? The doors open, and, two officers were there, guns drawn, yelled, "Did you see anything?" We're like, "No." "How do we get out?" They pointed that way, and just the adrenaline. We got outside, and just here we are. We ended up in a church across the street here.
What was that moment like when the four of you were here and you knew you were safe?
Just like nothing you've ever felt before, or you could even explain. It's hard to explain. I mean, just we're just blessed. I mean, how we got out of there, I can't. It's kind of surreal being at the church, because God was watching over us. I mean, definitely, we could have went really bad. I hope all the people pray for their families and that they're okay. We don't know much right now, but.
So there you have a guy named Chris, who's an
right from
eyewitness
TMH.
there. And Rob D'Amico, you heard him say something that's a little troubling. He said that they tried to get out from the student center, and all the doors around them were locked. They're going to this is way too premature for this, but they're going to have to go back, I think, and look at what was happening. So if something like this were to happen again, people can flee to safety. I assume that doesn't surprise you too much, though.
No, because a lot of the doors that they lock so people can't get in, they have to go in a certain way. Unfortunately, you have to make it so someone can, exit, because you look at fire, a fire situation, if you can't get out, type of thing. So they're really going to have to go back and look at those things. I know you want to limit the ability to get in a building, but you really have to also limit, the ability to get out. I cringed when he said he got in an elevator. I'm like, oh, I would never get in an elevator, because you're going to go up and those doors open. You have no idea what's there. Luckily for him, it was two police officers. So it's one of those things. Again, I guess I was thinking, like, what would I do if my child was there and I wanted to go to the threat but obviously don't want to bring my child, type of thing. Telling them to go the other way would be tough. But it's one of those things that they're going to have to look at how it was handled with the access and stuff like that, if that's in the case. So hopefully they'll get all those statements and really go through and be critical of how things were done. But you want to go back to the last thing on how they're responding?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, someone had asked like a question, how do you, talk to so many witnesses? Well, the ones that were close are going to try to probably get their names and stuff, but also people are going to want to be witnesses. And the key is, did you see something that is potentially like incriminating that's going to go to court? If you saw that person do something or walk by, those ones are really critical that they're going to have to highlight and then get people in front of to interview. You can't do a ton of it now. You can set up a room and people can come in. But right now they got to secure the crime scenes to get those processed before, obviously they have the whole weekend, which is they close school. They'll be able to probably do those scenes before the start of next week. And then just have a whole case squad of taking witnesses' statements. And then the other thing is all the media that's going to come in. FBI started doing that after the Boston bombing, and they really got overwhelmed by how much media from people's phones comes in. So there's a whole new process of how they bring that in. And you saw the FBI guy talk about, hey, this is the number, how to do it, because some of it is like technology wise, a lot of storage and all, and we'll do that for the local prosecution to be able to reference all that. You have IA doing certain searches on that media to figure out which ones are key. But it's the fact that he is alive means there's a whole nother step to this in the prosecution. Before, if he's deceased, yes, you still have to collect evidence if anyone was, possibly associated with the crime, but most likely that's not going to happen. You're doing it all for critical evaluation of how you responded if the shooter's dead. Now that the shooter's actually alive, there's going to be a prosecution unless he pleads out.
Bart, yeah, there's going to be a for sure unless he pleads out. Bart, to you, I mean, there's a whole other side to this investigation, which I want to get to D'Amico on as well. But now we learned at the press conference that the shooter's mother is a school resource sheriff's deputy with Leon County, which is where this is all happening in Tallahassee. Leon County is Tallahassee's part of Leon County. Talk to us about that part of, as far as you would understand it, that part of the investigation. Now having a look, obviously they had to inform this sheriff's deputy. Her life is going to be destroyed because now her son is going to be eventually a convicted murderer. So how do you deal with that half of the equation?
Yeah, he was on the inside. He probably knew where the police were positioned, how fast they could get there, what he could pull off before they arrived. And his mother being a resource officer as well, he probably knew all those things. He's already on the council, so he knew information that most students would not know to be able to start an attack, commit an attack, and pull some of it off as he did before, being, arrested or shot at or apprehended himself. With that type of knowledge, he was as dangerous as if his mother had done it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm talking in terms of, information. Now the training, that's something different, but he was on the inside, which makes it very dangerous. I think about that student union, as most are on these campuses. They're big areas and there's a lot of people there, especially around lunchtime. It is so packed. I can't imagine what the next steps are going to be when certain doors are locked and people couldn't get into them to hide. But in that particular area, it's a bad space for an attack to happen. Now, Rob, you can help me with this. I don't think we know where the shooting took place. I don't think that was inside the union. I feel like it was outside. But did you hear anything that?
I haven't heard confirmation either way. It was just around it, so I haven't heard inside though yet.
Because that inside would have been, that would have been terrible. And I'm kind of surprised he had a pistol. That you can conceal that a little bit more to be able to do something versus a shotgun or a rifle. I mean, if there's some saving grace, we're thanking God that it wasn't a rifle of any type. But in that space, those student units, that's definitely a tough one to try to prevent an attack from happening. Now, you mentioned at the top that we haven't had one of these in a while, which I think is a kind of it's almost one of those scary thoughts. Again, back to that proximity illusion. I always say expect it to happen and then try to mitigate it, as opposed to, it never happened here, or it hadn't happened in a while at any other school. So do you let your guard down? I know law enforcement does it, but what's happening on your campus as a whole, as opposed to, I like to say in an environment like that those students and the faculty and the staff is the first line of defense. Again, we're going to hear in the coming days some things that he may or may not have said leading up to this in terms of what any potential signs may have been, even at home. But they are the first line of defense. They're going to be the ones that's going to hear something before anyone else.
Sheriff Walter McNeil, he came out referring to the shooter's mother, Deputy Eichner, says she's been with Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. Her service to the community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene. That's a direct quote. Rob D'Amico, you and I are pretty much the same age. You're a little bit older. I could rub that in. I don't ever recall hearing about a school shooting until Columbine. And then there was a little break, and then they became like incredibly prevalent. What do you think has changed? I mean, there was mental illness when you and I were in high school. There were, kids who were having emotional issues, whatever have you. So what has changed?
I give, and this may be controversial or not. It's not politics, but I believe movies, video games, and popular culture has made violence, I don't want to say acceptable, but it really desensitizes you to it. Like I remember watching that Grand Theft Auto, the first time that they're playing games where they steal a car and they, carjack people and shoot people. I'm like, are you kidding? It's like the first time I saw someone shot, it was traumatic in that, like, it's the first time you're seeing this happen. But I have to tell you, like, video games actually are very realistic and they're unbelievably realistic, and movies are even more so. And people have gotten akin to it. And then once something starts happening, I think you're probably going to see within the next 4 or 5 weeks another school shooting, because it's not that someone sees it and says, "Oh, I'm going to do that." It's someone that's been thinking about it, that has these thoughts in their heads, and they like the results of what happened, be it they were on the national news or whatever, that people were deceased and you want to get back at someone. They like the results, and this will give them that, look at what happened here. I want that, be it, media, be it, results of killing somebody. So I think we're going to see that again shortly. It's kind of happened that way. I call them, and they happen in chunks, and then they go away, and then they happen again. And I think Columbine was the first one that I knew of. It may have happened before, and I'm not going to blame media, because it's media's job to cover these things. But if people want attention, and now more media is out there, and more things happen, then that's just one of the things that goes with it. So it's a hard thing, but I do think, we've always had guns in this country. That's not, I don't think, the difference. It's a country that's grown up on the culture of guns. And I don't think per capita there's been too many back and forths of numbers, but I truly think that media, but both video games, movies, and music, have gotten to a point where violence is glorified. Violence is portrayed as something that people do. I've seen unbelievably horrible violence overseas that you can't even get your head around. And overseas, some places it is more acceptable because they're used to it. In Afghanistan, the stuff that you saw, or Iraq, here would be unbelievably the carnage, and over there people accept it a lot differently.
Interesting take, Bart. I got to ask you the same thing. Do you agree with Rob? What do you think has changed that suddenly we're in not so suddenly, but since '99 when Columbine happened, it seems like we're in this culture of mass shootings and especially school shootings?
Yeah, I think Columbine is definitely relevant in all of these. Although the kid today didn't know something about it, I think they do their homework. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm going to do this." It's pre-planned in some way, shape, form, or fashion. I believe that these attackers are copycat in a way. They know what's happened. They've seen how it was pulled off, and that helps them develop their plan. I believe, I hate to say this, I don't hate to agree with Rob. I hate to say that it's going to happen again, because I'll never say that it's not going to happen. It is particularly prevalent in the beginning of school years, at the end of school years. It's almost they want to be martyrs in some way. they want to go out with a bang, whatever that bang is. Started with a bang. Same things happen around the holidays. That's when these things kind of pick up. It's like the warm weather does something, but it happens, when it's the holidays too. But I believe that it's a copycat world. They're watching. They see that someone pulled it off, and they probably had a plan to do it at some point, and they look at how to kind of perfect theirs as much as possible, kill as many as they possibly can before they get killed themselves. But unfortunately, it is gonna happen again.
Neil Campbell, who's relatively new to the chat, 39 school shooting this year so far. Of course, the comment up there, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, is where Dan Markel is from. That's our original true crime story, and he was an FSU law professor. So full circle. You've got Tally Girl here. Our Tallahassee Elementary School was on lockdown for 2 hours today. English is, what is ESC? I don't even know. Class of third. The fifth graders from our school was on FSU campus a week ago at the same time of day. Frightening. FSU's second event. Earlier, we saw a father who was literally on a tour there with his child who could be a student. That's got to be, what a way to be welcomed into FSU. Rob D'Amico, something I can't wrap my head around are first responders, and I mean it with all due respect. I mean, people are running away, and you are running in. I know you're not running in like haphazardly. The minute, if you're an FSU police officer or a Tallahassee police officer, and you're hearing gunshots, what are you trained to do? I mean, do you literally run toward the sound of the shot? You don't want to get picked off. So what is the strategy here?
Well, when you've been around gunfire, it's sometimes hard to place, but again, when you've been around it, you can kind of tell like where it's coming from, how far it is, but you are taught to go to it. If you are running into the student union and you hear it inside, you're not going to blindly just run into that room. You're going to, cut a pie, clear a corner to get into some tactical stuff. But, if you're outside and you hear it across a thing, you are going to run to it. You're going to draw your weapon. You're going to run to it, and you're going to try to ID with all your senses of where that's going to, because frankly, you are the one that can stop this. Before there were like Columbine, it was always that you wait for, the SWAT team to get there. Again, it's kind of like the old days of plane hijackings where they thought they just hijack a plane and land it, and then they flew them into buildings, which really changed what U.S. Marshals were trained to do on planes. And same thing with the hostage rescue team and stuff. So as the Columbine thing went on, we started training people in the diamond, where you go to a point of entry, you wait for 4, and then you go into it in a diamond, front security, the 2 on the sides and 1 in the back. And we train people how to go through fairly quickly to the sound of gunfire with 360 degrees. Personally, I wouldn't wait for 4. I just go. Been in enough stuff that like, hey, I can deal with it better just getting there quicker to end this. And that's that we saw, I think, in Nashville, where the officer went in. I think it was alone or just one other person. They entered and they neutralized the threat down there. Because again, you're the one that has the capability to do it. And when I carry a gun, I think of that all the time, and I carry it most of the time down in South Florida. And as we talked about earlier, if something happens, first responders go into training. Like if you gotta have to train, you have to have the mentality.
Hey Rob, I'm gonna bounce. I don't know if we can get sound on this though. These are some students. See how we do. I don't know. Let's see here. I don't know if we're gonna get sound. No, I cannot unmute it. These are obviously 2 students. One in. And by the way, Rob, didn't mean to cut you off there.
2, and then police came and escorted us to the Caraway building. I knew I didn't want to go anywhere, and I knew it would be a bad idea to like leave. So I was like, all right, like let's just barricade the door. I was just scared that it wasn't. I didn't know what to believe because I didn't hear any shots. I mean, the union's close enough to your shots. So I was like, I I didn't know what was going on. So I was really just like wondering if it was true or not, and like if this was a false like alarm, and hoping that my friends were safe. All of a sudden, getting texts from my friends, texting my friends, really was waiting for police to come for us to be safe. It was just like I was like, wow, I'm really hoping like no one's really hurt. I'm hoping the police got him before he could get anybody, and really hoping he didn't come for us in our room, and like hoping that, like trying to figure out where my friends were, hoping none of my friends are there, scared for my parents because I knew they're going to get a text and then they're going to be freaking out. So immediately started texting my parents like, hey, I'm okay, I'm in a building.
The big thing that I've been thinking about is like people sending around videos. I don't really think that's like a great idea. I mean, people lost lives, people lost their kids, their brothers or sisters. That's not something to joke about. So I just say be respectful of people's family members.
It's be respectful. It definitely makes me respect like the other events that happen more. It feels very real now. I would say like if you're ever joking about it, like please don't. Like this is very serious. Like sons, daughters, friends, like people have died today, and it's unbelievably sad.
Yeah, and it just shows
It's going to be a very long road for all the FSU students, and it's going to be, I think, scary for a lot of them to go back to school. Rob, just pick up where you left off. You can see them already processing the crime scene here. They've got their evidence markers. Go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, I lost where I was reading some of the comments,
Yeah.
and the gun thing has taken over a lot of it. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm used to weapons. I'm used to my friends having weapons. And I go with reality. I just don't think it's possible in this country to go backwards to where people think we can go. I just don't think it's going to happen. I deal with what is currently the situation. And the other thing that people brought up was mental illness. Obviously, someone to go on a shooting, I think there's mental illness problems. Though with this one, you really have to look at, he was part of the youth advisory council. His mom, like, did they see any indicators? Because a lot of times it's hidden. Children will hide things from parents. I have 4 children and found out later on, one was sexually assaulted, and I never knew. And then another one, had thoughts of self-harm, and kids go through that. And I always thought we had the best relationship, and we would be told that, and we weren't. And I didn't see it. It's one of those things. Mental health is an issue, and some of them are much more severe when they go on shootings at presentation of that. Did he say things? And that's the other thing, the red flags that go up. I think I spoke about this on Fox or NBC earlier. No one ever thinks that their friend or the person they know is going to do this. So when they start seeing maybe a yellow flag, they don't say anything there, because like, oh, Johnny would never harm anyone. He's a nice kid. And then it gets to the point where Johnny harms someone, and people are like, oh, why didn't you turn him in? Like, well, I didn't think he would is common, but that's just one of those hard points. You don't see the worst in the people you're close with.
Thanks, by the way, for clarifying ESE. I don't know why I was thinking like English is a second language for some reason. K9 Catherine with an interesting stat. Bart, I'm coming to you. The U.S. has 57 times more school shootings than the other G7 countries combined. Interesting. Listen, the chat is very heated. I get it. But that's also part of the problem, is that we're so divided as a country. Instead of everyone yelling at each other, and it's not, my dad might say it's pie in the sky. I am covering this as breaking news, COE. But what I'm saying is we need to come together. If people remember after 9/11, and I'm certainly not asking for a terror attack, don't get me wrong, but after that, we saw some unity here, people getting along with each other. Things have just become so divisive, and fighting over this is not going to solve the problem. That is for damn sure. Bart, there's a question there. There's the Crumbleys, Jessica Crumbly, and I forget the husband's name, and the son is a convicted school shooter. The parents were ultimately convicted in a court of law. What will happen in this situation? I mean, we're talking about a law enforcement officer with a very unblemished record. you know, a sheriff's deputy in the county where Tallahassee is, where FSU resides. But they've got to investigate, right? So what are they going to be looking at specific to this mother who also happens to be a sheriff's deputy?
Yeah, it's probably better for a robbery. But my guess would be that they're gonna investigate to see if the weapon was locked up. How did he get access to it? Was it given to him? And that's the difference between the family, the mother and dad that you mentioned before. They gifted the son the gun, you know, so it's a little bit different. Now, if this deputy did that, you know, then she's going to be liable in some way. But if it was locked up and he figured out how to get into it, or maybe it wasn't locked up, so that investigation is going to reveal some of that. What I was going to say when Rob was talking is it's that proximity illusion. You're so close to it that you can't fathom that it could happen. You don't think it's one of your child. You don't think it's one of your children. You don't think it's the people that are close to you. Even when they say it, even when you see the signs, you don't pay attention to them because you're so close to it. You don't think that anything's going to happen of it. So those are the things that, you know, the closer you are, the less you think that it's going to happen. Then that becomes a big problem. I'm sure she thought that, especially on this youth council, being taught some of these things to help mitigate the attack at the school, and ends up committing the attack at the school.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for this. By the way, one of the worst news cliches is a mother's worst nightmare, but this is going to be an absolute nightmare for this family. Lauren Gurney here. And Bart, I'll go back to you on this. Are there any environmental or situational strategies that could mitigate the prevalence of mass shootings? And that's a good question, you know, trying to get a solution to the problem instead of everyone yelling at each other.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about proactive strategies, but they're well ahead of the shooter coming to school with the gun. You know, how do you trust? And again, those people, those fellow students and his friends are the first line of defense. As Rob mentioned about, you know, about his children. Now he didn't know, but did you know, his daughter's siblings know, or did her friends know? I mean, I have two sons. One actually went to Florida State, so I've been on that campus. I was a parent there, you know, taking my child on a tour and him attending there for 18 months, you know, so knowing a little bit about that environment. But I can assure you that his brother, that's 3 years younger, knows more than I do. He's going to tell him something that I'm not being told. But it's the same thing with friends and fellow students. But are they paying attention to those things? So they need to be taught to observe and then listen and report. It's 2025. Now, you remember way back in the day, well, especially before 911, we used the slang word bad. But bad meant that was good. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and then 911 happened, so we can't say bad in the airport. So that was such a thing that people stopped saying it altogether. They don't even use bad as slang. Now it's dope or something else, but it's not bad. They say don't say it in the airport. People say, forget that. I'm not going to say it at all. My point is, it's 2025. So when people say they're going to do something, we need to believe they're going to do it. It might not be everyone come to school the next day and shoot people, but it may be some things leading to that that's being said. And that's the time to mitigate it. You know, so how well do you know your fellow students? If they look like they're doing something out of place, then you need to, some things beg a question. You need to ask a question about it. And then learn to listen and don't just hear. You know, people can be in a room and some of them are hearing, they hear something being said, but if they had listened, it might have been that sign that could possibly mitigate something. And then all your gut's telling you something. That's your strongest sense. You need to pay attention to it when it looks like something is wrong, to recall that gut and do something about it.
Yeah. We're so desensitized to this. It's so matter of fact. When you hear it on the news now, you're like, oh, another school shooting. But if you think about it, we don't know who the two dead victims are, but they got up just like us today, brushed their teeth, took a shower. It was a Thursday, nice weather in Tallahassee, milling around the student union, and they may not even know that they are no longer with us. It happened so quickly. So when you put yourselves in their shoes for just a moment, It really shows you how senseless and tragic all of this is. Speaking of school shootings, it's also being reported, Rob D'Amico, that there are survivors of the Parkland school shooting here in South Florida that were on campus at FSU when this happened. Parkland happened, I want to say, in 2018. So it's a long time ago. Maybe they're grad students, but there is reporting that they're there. Your thoughts on that? I mean, the fact that you could be in two different schools.
Yeah. I was doing news on another school shooting, and again, I've done so many of them. I don't recall which one it was. Same thing though. It was at a college, and one of the people that came on as a witness on the news was at a high school shooting. Just that one was like closer. It was like 2 years earlier, and it's like unbelievable that in fact can happen, but it does at a point. Yeah, it's just getting to a point where like, wow, you're on two huge school shootings, and I don't even know how the parents deal with that. You go through one and you're thinking, thank goodness, you're just looking at like, this can't happen again. And it does.
Yeah. I have to agree with this one. The shooting is going to do nothing to change what the shooter was angry about. Rob D'Amico. So if I heard correctly, and I think I did, he was the shooter. This guy Phoenix was given commands, I guess, to stop shooting or put the weapon down, which he didn't do. Walk us through that scenario. I mean, you guys are trained to scream these commands out. At what point do you fire on this person? Because they did.
Yeah. I look, if you've already shot someone, and I come on you, I'm not sure I'm saying anything, and I don't have to, because if I say drop the gun and then you shoot someone by the time you don't drop the gun, I think that's on me. If he hadn't shot someone yet, I may give him a second or two to drop the gun, but I'm not there to give him time to inflict more deadly force on other people. But I've gone through that in my head a number of times, and I am very much in tune to what I would do in a shooting. Some officers who's never pointed a weapon at anyone, it's a bigger deal, and they really do. Some of these videos that I see now all the time, where the cop is telling someone put the gun down, put the gun down, put the gun down, and the person's holding the gun at a point where I can shoot someone in a quarter second. I'm not giving them that chance to do that to me or anyone else. But again, I've been in a number of things that give me that basis. So if I tell him once, that's what it is. Especially if he's already inflicted deadly force on other people, he's probably just going to get shot from me. Sorry, but that's just the way it is.
By the way, Rob, I was upset to hear about the essay of your kid. That is awful, and also your child.
It's one of those things that you again, it's not going to happen to us. All the kids relatively in good, this was in a good relationship. Even it was a boyfriend who everyone like. So it's one of those things that, and I am not very. I think the worst of people first, and then let them prove. And this was shocking to me. I didn't find out for a number of years. Either did their mom. And we thought we were in a position where they would tell us. It wasn't like it was a bad relationship with the child. It was just how they deal with it. So it's one of those things that is really, really tough. And same thing with self-harm. You're no indicators and no real understanding of what's going through your child's head at times.
Yeah. Brooks Koepka, well-known golfer, professional golfer, he tweeted out, "My heart is broken reading the news, praying hard for my whole FSU family and Tallahassee." The Attorney General tweeting out that the FBI is on scene and that they're in communication with agents on the ground. If I heard correctly again, and maybe and by the way, Nina, we're not blocking anybody. You just blocked me for critical questions. I'm always respectful, just like Trump. It's getting dangerous. First Amendment seems to be selective. Everyone has a right to their opinion. Nina was earlier, people get heated about this, and like Nina, she's in here a lot. Earlier, she said we purposely did not read her comment. I saw that. It's just, Nina, there's a lot going on at one time that I'm juggling back here. So sometimes I'll miss a comment, or the same with the COE and space. But thank you to Mr. Womack and Mr. D'Amico for your service. Much respect. But Bart, I think I also heard them say that police responded. Then they went to the hospital to speak with this shooter. So you get the sense that he's in somewhat okay condition. But I think maybe I heard this wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think they said he invoked his right to an attorney. So obviously the questioning stops then and there. Your thoughts on the fact that he would do that? I mean, his mother is a law enforcement officer, so he knows. I'm sure he learned that, and apparently told investigators, "No, I'm not talking to you without an attorney."
Yeah, he's close enough to it to know those rules, know some parts of it, knows about rights and all those types of things. So we exercise it. I would say that now, I'm not in his mind or in these shooters' minds, but it's some plan. Again, I don't think they wake up and just say, "I'm going to go do this." They've thought about it in some way, and they've done some homework. They've looked at some things, the previous shooting, what could happen, what could not happen, all those types of things. So I'm not surprised that he did that. I still think at some point we're going to hear something close to a motive. At least we hope to, because that will help us hopefully mitigate the next one.
I think he's right. Like, I think most of these people fantasize about it for a while. They think about it. They think about like what they're going to do. They fantasize about the response they're going to get. He wanted something out of this. And you know what the trigger point was, we may never know. We may figure out a motive. We don't know what the trigger point was where he felt he had to do this to a point that may not come out. But Rob, he definitely fantasized and ran through it in his head several times.
Yeah, Rob, what about the fact, so they, at the press conference, they said again that he used his mother as a sheriff's deputy's weapon, but it's a handgun. You don't usually see, I mean, I feel like maybe I'm wrong again. I'm wrong a lot, but I feel like the vast majority of school shootings or mass shootings are always done with some kind of semi-automatic, like longer gun weapon. Are you surprised that this was like a service gun, like a handgun?
No, I think the ones that use AR-15s definitely, like, you hear about that significantly, because I think there's more controversy around it. But I do know a number of the shootings are by pistols and stuff like that. Again, I was a bit surprised, service weapon, but he's in his 20s too, so some of it, like, if you allow a weapon to be, handled by someone under 18, that's not locked, there's some penalties. So him being over 18 and having access to it may not be legal in Florida. He may go shooting with his mom, and it's in the gun locker, and he's always used it responsibly, and everything else. So again, you have to go into that investigation to figure out exactly what was in there. If I think the one in Georgia where the father was prosecuted, he knowingly had made a threat against the school, like in the fall, and that Christmas, the father bought him a gun for Christmas. And I think those are okay. Like, now we're getting to a point where you're culpable in this, having your. So if the mom had, like, heard him making some ramblings about, violence to protesters or whatever, just based on that thing that you saw, and then she left the weapon out, well, maybe you can find some negligence in that. But he may have been shooting with the youth advisory council. They may have, done something on that, like a range day, and he knew where the weapon was. He knew how to load it, obviously. I used to take my son shooting when he's young, and we used to shoot my pistols and my MP5 and my M4, and and he he was quite strict with the safety because I, drilled it into him, even with his, he had a BB gun and then it started with the Nerf guns. But again, I didn't leave those weapons accessible. Those were locked up, but I had a place in the office to do that. So it's a bit different.
Yeah. Well, this guy, Phoenix Eichner is probably very lucky Rob did not respond, because I have a feeling he would not be alive to be investigated if Rob was there. Shout out, by the way, to April Lovett, her husband. She is, yes, I do. There's a picture of Phoenix Eichner that we will put up. Thanks, COE. Just lost my train of thought once again. But for those who are just joining, this is an FSU student, 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, who law enforcement says is responsible for a shooting today. 9 people were shot, 8 of them by the shooter. 2 of those died, 6 are injured, and then law enforcement shot the shooter. So in total, if you're counting the shooter, it is 9 people who were shot today. 2 of them, sadly, are gone. And it seems like it could have been a whole lot worse. If not, if you go on Twitter, social media, you will literally see FSU police and Tallahassee police sprinting toward the sound of the gunfire. And I think you got to thank first responders who do that. I think they mitigated potentially a lot of other deaths and injuries. It's been a long day. We started with Lori Vallow. We might be doing the Menendez brothers. I'll be honest, I've been doing this, so I'm not 100% sure where we stand with the Menendez brothers. They're in court today for a possible resentencing. That's what they're deciding on. We might just take a press conference after this if it is happening. This is Phoenix Eichner. This looks like his Twitter following here. Same picture on Instagram, by the way, or this might be Instagram, actually. I think it is Instagram. You see his quote here, Bart, from Jeremiah 51:20. You are my war club, my weapon for battle. With you, I shatter nations. With you, I destroy kingdoms. A little disturbing. What do you make of that quote? Well, does the photo stand out to you? And your final thoughts here?
I mean, because it comes from the Bible, you would have to, I'd be trying to line, okay, was he really religious? Did he often use or talk about things in the Bible? Was he a person of faith, or was he using what was in the Bible for something in the future? Because everything in there says, okay, now we understand why he did, why what he did today. It kind of aligns, but because it's a Bible verse, we'd have to, I would say, look and see if he was really a person of faith.
There's people out there, obviously the chat got heated today. This is a very divisive issue. I mean, at least guns are a very divisive issue, really almost split down the middle in this country. But just to fix this problem, which is obviously a huge problem, and it's like amorphous in the sense that you can't really get your arms around it. Any thoughts about how we can try to prevent this moving forward?
Yeah, I have to go back to like who's following him. And even with this, I won't rule out, even if he was a person of faith, was he so radicalized about that ideology that he was using that to commit an attack? It would take more than just this post and then what he's talking to his friends about. I think that's really the proactive part of preventing these types of attacks. You heard me say it, I'm gonna say it again, that the people are closest to him. If you're a student, a fellow student, and those friends are the first line of defense for this. We're not telling parents, we're not telling, law enforcement, we're not telling administrators, but friends will tell friends, and fellow students will tell fellow students enough to possibly mitigate some of these attacks.
Well said. Rob D'Amico, by the way, back to the Crumbleys. It is true. I mean, the huge distinction is that Ethan Crumbley, the son, who's now behind bars for life, he was a minor, 16. This guy here, 20 years old. You look at this, Rob, the picture is very depressing for a number of reasons, and it's not just because he has 31 followers, but obviously he seems, just in this post to be a little bit with this quote, I don't know, looking for something, searching for something, maybe a little angry. His life is forever changed, but obviously the victims' lives taken, those families will never recover. The shooting victims will never recover from the emotional trauma. All around, just an awful tragedy, and it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight. So anything positive, Rob D'Amico, to end on? Rob is a positive guy. He goes out there, handles business, takes care of things. It feels like everyone is bummed out and sad, rightly so, I guess. Another school shooting in America. Take us out on a somewhat high note, Rob, with your final thoughts.
That's a load right there. Take us out on a high note. This guy just killed 2 people and put 6 in the hospital. I'm not sure I can't end on a high note.
End on a low note then. Okay. That's a lot of
I just again, when I see the Bible for, I'm a very realistic guy. I've seen more people killed in the name of religion than anything else in my life. I've been over in religious battles in Iraq and Afghanistan. So religion can be used in 2 ways. I mean, it's, the peaceful way that I think, that most people mean it to be, and then people turn it to make it so that they can justify violence against others. And obviously that goes into his quote. I definitely don't know any Bible verse. I think I was thrown out of catechism in school. But I think you have to, like, the context of I don't even know who you're talking about, you or my war club. I'm not sure Jeremiah 51:20 who they're talking about there. But the fact that you're putting it up there, that that's some use of the Bible towards a violent type of thing. So don't know, again, context of it, look into it more. But I think you're going to start, as they do search warrants on all his electronics and stuff like that. Obviously, you may come across on some of these, and talking to his closer friends to figure out what he was talking about in the days leading up to this, what he had said. And again, when your friend's saying it, you don't ever think they're going to do something about it, type of thing. But I think you'll get a lot of context out of it now from people that were around him. I cannot figure out how to end this on a high note. So I'm not going to try.
That was probably a big ask, and we're not going to celebrate.
You're putting a lot of pressure on me with that one.
We're not going to celebrate Phoenix Eichner by keeping his photo up. But it's a news story. Wanted to show him to you. I was just thinking back because I covered Sandy Hook Elementary, and Adam Lanza was the shooter there. Not to glorify him, but he was absolutely addicted to video games. He shot and killed his mother. That was probably the worst story I've ever covered, seeing those tiny little body bags. I'm definitely not ending on a high note there, but there was I'm sorry, Bart, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was going to say, to add to his post there, again, I talk about the first line defense and those friends and fellow students. Although there were minimum followers, somebody read it. So what is alarming about that, from his faith or otherwise, or him using it? To me, it begs a question, like, what did you mean by destroy kingdom? What kingdom? Some things beg a question. So I rely on his followers, which I'm sure were his friends, to question what he had up there. That could have been a point of mitigating. Again, we'll find out more here in the future, but that's something.
Horrific tragedy on the campus of Florida State University today. 9 shot in total, 8 by the shooter, 2 dead, 6 injured. Unclear what the extent of those injuries are. The shooter did not listen to commands or respond to commands, so officers shot the shooter, and he then apparently said, "I want an attorney," and did not speak. We're going to see how this plays out. Obviously, we are thinking of those who lost their lives, and the entire campus of Florida State University, which I've now been to a bunch of times for the Dan Markel story. And I'm headed back up to, and I proudly bought myself some FSU gear at the Student Center at the bookstore. So I was in that very building, which is a little eerie. And hopefully we never see anything like this again.
You can hire me for executive protection, Joel. I do that too.
You know what? At Fox News, we actually used to get guys like you, D'Amico, in dangerous areas. And I always felt like, like I was important. It was cool. But I don't know that I can afford you, Rob, but maybe I'll bring you up. I'll see. Alaska's in the house. I love that. And there was one other thing I was going to try to get to, which I just can't. I'm telling you, I think I'm losing my my short-term memory, but that's all good. So anyway, our thoughts are with these families, and it's going to be a long. I know what I was going to say. FSU has announced that school is closed through Friday, and all athletics have been canceled through Sunday, which is the least of everyone's worries. But we just hope that the campus and the people at FSU are able to climb out of this dark hole and find light once again. Huge thanks to Rob D'Amico, Bart Womack for being here, and Jared Ross, who lives in Tallahassee and was with us earlier. Stick around. I'm not sure what's going on with the Menendez brothers. If something's happening, we'll be on it. And if something is not happening, we probably won't be on it. We'll definitely be back tomorrow at noon, looking at the police interview with Stefan Stearns. And we got a packed week next week with Lori Vallow-Daybell's closings on Monday at 1 Pacific time, 4 Eastern. Love you, America. From the COE, we've covered many shootings in person. I've had to speak to family members who just lost the most important people in their lives. Let's remember the victims and their families. The COE, yeah. Very quickly at the Sandy Hook shooting, I just remember a lot of reporters breaking down, which you don't usually see, crying.
That one was just the.
Were you there, Rob?
No,
Yeah.
I've talked to people that were around other things I don't mean there's a difference in age, but when you see things happen to small children with rifles, it's just it's really hard to comprehend.
Yeah, these were tiny little body bags. And anyway, a lot of the reporters were just losing it. And I remember one saying to me, once you have kids, you'll understand. I did not have kids then, and now I do understand. So cherish your kids, hug your kids, love your family. Everyone stop fighting about politics, please, at least for 5 minutes. And love you, America. Love you, Bart. Bart, what state are you in? I know I asked you before.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Love you, Pennsylvania. Love you, Florida. And we are thinking of Tallahassee tonight. See you guys tomorrow.